You know, the De Palma's pitch was something like, how about Rear Window, but if Jimmy Stewart was just a total pervert? Jamie?
Okay.
Steve?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Body Double. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. We're an 80s movie podcast where every other week we watch a different movie from the 80s and then we talk about that movie. I'm one of your two hosts. My name is Paul McCambridge. And with me, as always, possibly with rear projection behind you. I'm not sure if you're driving with rear projection this screen or not.
I'm
with
just
rear
spinning around. I'm just spinning around. I'm not on a circle bed, but I am just rotating around.
So you're saying you're on a beach. It's just, it's okay.
Making out with myself, really.
All right.
But
okay.
In a rotating fashion.
But that's Jamie Lorello with me. And as everybody knows by this point, unless you're just joining us because you typed in Body Double in your, podcast search engine, and we're like, let's see how many people talked about this movie. We're joined by our special guest, Steve Guntli from Ultra 64. Steve, how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I'm late. I was in the little studs room, so I just needed I needed to recenter a bit. But no, I'm all good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Right. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Before we get started, everybody, because guests really confuse me all the time, and I'm just never sure what we're doing on this podcast anymore. Please go to our website, goodtimesgreatmovies.com. There you'll find links to our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon. Oh, where we have our latest Patreon episode is They Live, or as I think, Jamie, you called it about 20 times during our episode, They Live, which is not the name of the movie.
They Live.
And
They Live.
Right. And if you are a patron, on August 1st, we cover a TV movie. And this time we're going to cover a TV movie from 1981 called This House Possessed, where I think a couple moves into a house that tries to kill them.
Imagine that.
So go ahead, find our Patreon, www.patreon.com/goodtimesgreatmovies if you want to check out that bit of nonsense. But we're not here to talk about nonsense today.
No.
Not in the least.
100% here to talk about nonsense.
A very serious movie.
Yeah, Steve.
Very complicated, too. It's a very complicated murder scheme, if you ask me.
So normally on this show, what we do is we really hunt and search for movies that have some sort of theme or whatever. It's an actor's birthday and blah, blah, blah. We try and tie it in. Or now that we have guests on, we're allowing them to pick movies, and you have 10 entire years worth of movies to choose from. Mm-hmm. And the thing I've been asking guests is, why did you pick the movie you picked? And that's a great question when we talk to you about this movie.
This is a very specific pull. I realize. Yeah, I'm a little shocked you guys hadn't gotten to this one yet, because this seems like it's kind of in your wheelhouse of perfectly sleazy 80s movies. I find this movie fascinating for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's a really hilarious bad movie. Like it's a good bad movie. I think it qualifies as that. I think it's really interesting because it represents a time and a place more particularly than almost anything else. Like, this is 1984 Los Angeles so perfectly. It's so steeped in that culture and in that vibe that it exists as kind of an amazing timepiece. I also think this is interesting because it's an $8 million fuck you. It is Brian De Palma at probably arguably at the peak of his powers, making a movie strictly to spite his critics. like the criticism that had been building up around him for years now with Dress to Kill, with Blowout, with all these kind of sordid movies that he does, is that, he's got these prurient values, that he doesn't really respect women, that he rips off Hitchcock too much, that his movies are all sex and blood and style over substance and everything like that. So with this movie, De Palma was just like, okay, I'm going to make the movie that you guys have been accusing me of making all these years. Like, you want sleaze? I'm going to give you sleaze. Like,
right.
you want like sex and murder and nonsense? I mean, I'm going to have one of my female characters murdered with a large rotating phallus, like in the middle of the movie. You want Hitchcock references? This is like ripping off 10 simultaneous Hitchcock movies at the same time. Like, it's wild, and I think it's just a really fascinating timepiece for this era in De Palma's career and this era in movie making.
I mean, I appreciate you bringing this to us, because here's what I'll say, and people may disagree with it. I do not like Brian De Palma. I
don't either.
I could count the films of his I like on one hand, and I'd still have 3 fingers down. Like,
he's such a stylist that he's also kind of hard to dismiss entirely. Like, you have to watch certain stuff and just be like, I really respect the hell that he did that. Like, I don't like anything else about this, but I can see what he's doing. Yeah.
This film is just bizarre choice after bizarre choice, and some of them had me laughing, but my biggest gripe with this movie, and we'll get into it, as you know, and as listeners know, we kind of go through the film beat by beat.
Yep.
There are times where it just drags and nothing's happening. When he is following her around that mall or something, I was like, what is happening right now? I was like, nothing. This is so boring. But then it culminates in, as we sort of joked about earlier, the weirdest rear projection, rotation, make out, heavy petting scene. And I was laughing so hard just watching that, going, this is utter nonsense at this point in this movie. And I was totally happy that that's how that entire scene sort of ended, but just getting there was really painful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that is kind of a turning point, literally, for the movie, because they're turning on a big platform. And it's a perfect example of, like, I think they thought this would look good. Like, I don't think it's just like something where the technology didn't keep up. I think they thought this would look good. And then when it got in the movie, even De Palma was like, yeah, that doesn't really work. This effect doesn't work. I mean, we can't do anything else with it now. It's in the movie, but it doesn't work.
Was it supposed to represent how confused he was and how taken advantage? He was taken for a spin, just like she was drilled to death. He was taken for a spin by his friend. Was that? I was like, oh, is this where we're going with it? Oh, the loose skin face Indian man is actually somebody in disguise? What? And you could just peel that. I don't want to give too much away because we'll get there.
No, but that is one of those decisions, like, you look at it, speaking of the makeup, it's like you look at it and you're like, are we supposed to know that this is who this guy is? Because it's pretty obvious that this is who this guy is. Is this just the makeup technology not aging well, or did this look bad in 1984? Like, what did audiences in 1984 think of this movie?
And it's one of those things too where it's kind of like, I mean, we talk about the Indian guy the whole time, and the first time he mentioned an Indian to the police officer, I was like, no, that's just a guy in a Halloween mask. Like, that's not realistic at all. What are you talking about, you crazy person?
Also, if you're going to cast somebody to be like an impersonator of somebody else, don't cast the man with the most distinctly shaped large head you've ever seen in your life. Like, that head can only belong to one man. Like, what are we doing here?
True.
That head can belong to 2 men, because this guy is a bargain basement Corbin Burnson. Corbin Burnson was like, I'm too busy with LA Law at this point. I'm not going to be in your stupid movie, De Palma. So they got this guy.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But we should get into it.
Well, have we said the movie? I mean, I know we've alluded to it. But
I don't think we have.
You're already
1984 Body
discombobulated.
Double. So, in case anyone just needs to know, I'll just put it right out there. Body Double.
Take a body, double it. There you go.
Or double.
When this movie opens, it opens like the commitment to this bit of like, I'm going to fool you into thinking that this is a horror movie by running the actual credits for this movie over top of a horror movie in a horror font. Like, it's such a
horror font. Yes, it's animated. It bleeds.
It's such a wild commitment to nonsense that makes no sense. But I also love how it goes full circle, and we get the closing credits in the same stupid horror font.
Yep. Yeah.
I love it so much.
I already have a big problem with this movie within a movie because this does not look like a movie that exists. Like, this does not look like, this doesn't even look like a cheapy Hollywood movie they would make in 1984. This looks like a student film. And I don't think Dennis Franz is like fresh out of film school, you know? I don't know. Who knows how old that man is, but yeah.
he was about 50 for the majority of his career.
Right, yeah.
But I do like the fact that later when he's going on those auditions, he does say like, a low-budget horror movie. It's such an explanation, like, oh, no, we weren't supposed to take that seriously at all. Like, and I kind of want to watch, like, I'm going to call it the, sex fluid vampire movie that this is. Like, it looks like De Palma, Phantom of the Paradise, or somebody out of Rocky Horror is this vampire. It looks terrible. It looks like a dumb joke.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the point of this.
He's a punk rock vampire dude.
I think he stopped by Claire's and he got some sparkly eyeliner and got a Billy Idol hair bleach and now he's a scary vampire.
Yeah.
And don't forget he's got his teeth in. He put his little teeth in so he can suck your blood.
And we get to see those for a very long time because he does some of the best teeth flashing in the business, and he also just holds it forever because he's having like a claustrophobic attack.
Right.
Well, yeah, which is his claustrophobia really gets in the way hardcore. It's really
something. And his claustrophobia seems to come out of nowhere. Like, this seems to not have been an issue in his career or possibly in his life since he was a child. And now it's a daily occurrence.
No. He's got his acting class that serves as his therapy where we get to hear about how it all started. Playing a little sardines, but I'm a sardine.
Yes.
I was dying, but I'm a sardine. Oh, all right. You be that sardine. When he can't breathe and she's like, are you okay? He's like, I'm a sardine. I'm out of breath. I need to be back in the can.
So this is also our main character. The thing I found interesting about this movie is, apparently, Steve, you probably saw this too, that Columbia signed him after Scarface to a 3-picture deal.
Yeah.
And this was the first movie. And after this, they were like, you know what? We're just going to tear up this contract and pretend like it never happened.
Pretty much. I mean, this was kind of a flop at the time. Like, not a monument. I think it made like $10 million on an $8 million budget or something like that. So, like, it made slight amounts of money, but not enough to really justify a big, splashy 3-picture contract with De Palma. And he was one of those guys who's kind of a lightning rod for controversy because of some of the content in his movies. And I think after Body Double didn't just like exceed expectations, it's like, all right, this guy isn't really worth the extra risk, And then he even reboots and he goes back to doing more mainstream stuff. Like, I think is Untouchables his next movie or Wise Guy?
Yeah, I think
one of those.
Yeah. But it's such a bizarre choice to, after you've worked with Al Pacino and after you've worked with John Travolta, your main character is the low point of this movie. This guy has no charisma. Like, I have no interest in following this character. I don't care what he's doing, what's happening in this movie with him. And it was so bizarrely refreshing when Melanie Griffith, who I don't think is much better in this movie, when an hour and 10 minutes in, she showed up and I was like, at least this is a character. Like, at least she's doing something right now.
So you didn't feel bad for him when he caught his wife? You didn't feel a little bit sad when he didn't catch any clues that there was some giggling and laughing in his apartment? And he's the happiest man to get a hot dog ever.
He does.
I'll tell you that.
He does. Okay, so he freezes up at this shooting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dennis Franz. There's something great about listening to this guy call people babe that I found delightful because it's so out of character. But
this is not a man who calls anyone babe. Like, if he's doing a Hollywood sleazeball thing, like, he doesn't call them babe.
Right. No. Yeah. So he goes home, and clearly, as a movie viewer, you understand that his wife is having an affair.
Well, no. He doesn't just go home.
Okay.
Like I said, he picks up some hot dogs before we go home, and we get a quick shot.
Tale of the Pup.
Yeah, which is in LA. There are a bunch of like LA sort of staples. The LA Farmers Market, not the Beverly Center. I think that the Beverly Center. But anyway,
well, and even the house that he's staying in is the Chromosphere, which is in
yes.
Mulholland Drive. Yeah.
Yes. Did you see how there's a man feeding a woman a hot dog? At one point, they do like a span, and I don't know. I was obsessed, and he was so excited to bring home the hot dogs. I was like, this man. Anyway, he brings home the hot dogs to find out his lady is getting her own hot dog. How about that, guys?
Oh, yeah. Lady, the film debut of Barbara Crampton, and Already Nude. Yeah.
Oh.
Very
I
first
was
not
film role.
totally. She had somebody's hand on her left tit. I think.
Right.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Jimmy,
so
I don't know if
never
you
mind, I'm not gonna
remember.
call that.
I think the only time in this podcast we ran into Barbara Crampton was in Chopping Mall. And she was the one who was like getting undressed and weirdly like sexually humming a song while she was doing it. It was really great. And yeah, I enjoyed seeing her for all of the 2 seconds that she was in this movie.
I
But-
did like the glare she gave him
Oh,
when
yeah.
he catches her, and she
Yep.
just looks at him like, yeah.
That scene almost made me wonder if Paul Thomas Anderson was paying tribute to that in Boogie Nights. Remember when William H. Macy
Yes,
walks in
right.
on his wife?
Yes.
And like the look on her face is also similarly like a steely, like, oh, I don't care if you're watching, go away.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
feels kind of like a similar beat. But that scene is
Good
so
call.
weird too because we know what's going on. Like
course we do.
It's
Yeah.
such a long scene where we have to go room by room by room. He looks at his dog.
What a
He looks at
large
a room full of
apartment he
stuffed
has.
animals. Like we need to walk through the
Yeah.
entire house. We hear her moaning at least halfway through this scene. Like how dumb is this guy that we don't know? So it's already getting us off on a bad foot with this character.
And this is a movie, like I said, I had seen this before, but I had seen it a long time ago. And when he's walking through this house, like they are establishing the hell out of every room. And I was sitting there going, why are they doing this? I thought this took place in like a spaceship home. Like I did not think it took place here. There's no reason for this. You're not building any tension or anything like that. We, as people who've seen movies before, clearly know what he's going to stumble upon. But it just, again, takes a really long time to get there.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys read that De Palma originally wanted all the sex in this movie to be unsimulated? That was his. That was his big pitch. He wanted all the sex in this movie to be real, and I think Columbia pretty much immediately shot him down. But that was the
Oh, my
initial
word.
concept behind this.
Oh my!
So,
God. He's like, "What? Is it bad idea, babes? What's
yeah,
up? Is it a bad
babes,
idea?"
babes, no. How about you, babes? I'd like to call in the babes of the board, please.
So,
But it does set us
Well-
up. And I do want to talk about Craig Wasson a little bit.
Sure.
The
Go
lead
ahead.
actor here. I was looking at his career because I only knew him from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. He's like kind of the authority figure at the
Okay.
Mental Institute. And he's good in that movie.
Okay.
But he, first of all, could not get over how much he looks like slightly handsomer Bill Maher. Like,
Good call.
can't
especially
unsee
when he
it.
slicks his hair back later, I thought that was a different person for just a minute.
Totally.
When he's talking to her, I was like, who's this douchebag? What movie is this now? And I realized a second later, oh, this is our character pretending to be cool,
He
and
just
I'm
has
not
gel in
into
his
it.
hair. Yeah.
Well, and he was. I think he's well cast in the sense that like you don't want a star in this part. I think Craig Wasson works because he is basically at the level that Jake Scully is in this movie. He's a workaday actor. He's had some jobs, some acclaim. I think Wasson had gotten a Golden Globe nomination in the early 80s. I forget what the movie was, but like a small kind of forgotten movie, but he was good in it. And like he's not like a name and he's not a face necessarily. He's just kind of he's a guy, you know. This would be kind of like, you know, the real world equivalent of like Peter Scolari or someone like that, you know. It's and he
I
also
feel like
suffers.
you should have had someone, and I'm not saying a name and I'm not saying a face, but you should have had someone with presence. Like, I mean, I think of Peter Weller as a very uncharismatic actor, and I
Yeah.
think that this would be a great role for him. He's not that interesting unless he's a RoboCop, but I think that you need someone with some sort of presence. This guy, that haircut, I know it's of the day, but it's really, really bad. And he's so bland and uninteresting. And even at the end of this, I was like, so he's just a pervert. Like, that's all. Like, that's it. That's all this character is. There's nothing much behind that or beyond that.
He doesn't really benefit. He has the problem that a lot of actors in the 80s had of, he was 29 when he made this movie. And he looks like a 50-year-old man. You know, it's just like when something about like people in their 20s back in the 80s looked way older than they were.
Sure.
Well, they partied pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must have been.
Especially an actor in the 80s. I think they were, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly an element of that. But like he doesn't necessarily sell like the young struggling actor thing. So what we're left with is the movie doesn't really address it, but it's clear that he's a pretty bad actor. And also that he's just like probably deluding himself a little bit being out there. Like maybe this vampire movie is kind of the best he's going to do.
And I want to see him waiting tables on the side. Like he has to have a side hustle. Well, that's why he can't find a place to live. That's why when he says that when he finds his girlfriend or whatever and he's got to move out of the place, he's got to move out because it's her place.
Yeah.
And he obviously can't afford to get a place of his own.
It is interesting that
he's
not doing anything else, and we don't hear that he comes from money and this is just for fun or something like that. Because even one of the audition guys is like, "Well, you're working, right? That's pretty good." He's
well,
I guess.
I mean, working actor.
You know, so I don't like picking on actors too much, you know, because I think that Wasson is doing the best he can with the character he was given because. You know, obviously the claustrophobia thing is part of De Palma's big tie into Vertigo, right? Like this is really more than any other Hitchcock movie. This is a Vertigo ripoff. But the problem is, like Vertigo, Jimmy Stewart's character, his Vertigo was we knew the psychological roots of it. You know, he was traumatized by watching his partner die, and now he can't do this, and this. Like, we don't know why Jake is claustrophobic. We don't know why he's so claustrophobic that it's like crippling to him and ruining his career. And like, you know, we don't have any kind of inkling about what's going on with him. You could say, oh, his wife cheated on him, but the claustrophobia was happening before that even happened. So like,
so you're saying that instead of him talking about playing sardines, the opening of this film should have been a little kid hiding behind a freezer?
Yeah, exactly.
I actually would have liked that. I would have liked that.
Get
and you
something,
saw him like sweating it out, nervous, and the brothers going, "We're gonna beat the crap out of you if we find you or not, you little sardine."
Yeah.
And then like singing like, "He's just a sardine." And then he's the vampire.
Right.
There's your opening right there, and you're like, "What? What is this about? A kid in a game or a vampire punk rock dude? I don't know." And then go ahead, put boobies on the screen. I don't care. Throw them at me.
Right,
anyway.
At that point, do whatever you want. The audience is already lost 5 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
I think he just ends up in the end coming across as just kind of a simp. He's just kind of like he's a amiable enough guy, but he's got no real backbone. He doesn't really have many prospects, and he's just kind of a dork, you know? And he's in so deeply over his head in this movie.
Literally at one point.
I mean, this is his film. He's on camera continuously, start to finish.
It's a Wasson vehicle.
So, and I don't know if this was to be a star-making performance for this guy, but I just, you know, it's easy to look back on something 40 years old and be like, well, that guy didn't do a great job at all. At the time, I don't know what was going on in De Palma's head. But from what you've said, there was a lot going on in there, and a lot of it was just meaningless nonsense.
Yeah.
He was very horny during the making of this, I'm going to assume.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy's going around. He decides, he's on a bit of a break from this vampire movie that he's in because of his freak out on set. He's going to go around and do some auditions in the meantime. And he runs into, I have a huge problem with just the ruse that this guy is trying to play. Like, nothing about this makes any sense. Like, I understand that he's just trying to establish a witness to the fact that a rubber-faced Indian killed his wife and it wasn't him. But like, does he own that property next to his? Like, wouldn't the police be like, well, wait, you own that house? and that's where the guy said he saw somebody, and you said you were out of town. And also, is the guy that introduces the two of them in on this too, or does he just happen to be their acting buddy?
No, I think he just happened to be there.
Okay.
Like, I think it's just the group of actors, as they do. You know, they keep running into each other at auditions and stuff, and some of them wearing fancier scarves than others.
Yeah,
that should have been a giveaway that he was creepy. I don't know. I was like, wait a minute, this guy with the scarf, something's not right here. What's going on with that thing? When we get the flashback and we see how this friend, what is his name?
The actor's name is Greg Henry, and the character is Sam Bouchard. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he's just a fellow struggling actor who meets Jake at an audition and just kind of a casual thing, and then like, oh, coincidence, he bumped into him again, and then I bumped into him again, and
then he was in an acting class with him.
Yeah.
They took an acting class together. That acting class was something else.
Jamie, he didn't take that acting class because the teacher's even you're not even supposed to be here, are you? He's like, I'm not in this class, and we're leaving. I was like, okay, fine. Well, I don't know what's happening, but great, take him away. His acting class / psychiatrist appointment?
Yeah.
Like, it's so bizarre.
It's almost like there's a bit of primal scream therapy in there.
Yes,
it's like
yes.
it's like this weird kind of like I fully buy that this would be the kind of pretentious bullshit that they would be peddling at this era in this part of Hollywood, like a failed actor trying to sell his own like method, you know, like I totally buy it in that sense. This scene goes on way too long, but I do buy that this kind of acting class existed. Probably still exists.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
oh,
like
definitely.
He's tapping his shoulder, tapping his throat, trying to like wake up his chakras or something. Like, come on, get it out of you. Scream it out of you. What happened? And that's the whole sardine story we talked about earlier. He's packed like a sardine.
And that's where we see that, like, this really makes Jake feel like an inert character, because it's like, this is an easy thing. Like, you can't even yell. Like, he's asking you to just be on stage and yell. Like, why are you milking this? There's clearly something deeply psychological, like, preventing him from doing this, and we never look into it.
No,
it's not like this guy hypnotized him. He's like, tell me a story about when you were a kid, and he still can't scream and yell. But he appears to be hypnotized, but he's not. But he's in his psychiatrist's office / acting class. And then this dude takes him out for drinks. I also love how he goes in for a drink early, and his bartender's like, hey, man, I thought you stopped drinking. I was like, boy, you have a really close relationship with this bartender best friend of yours. He's
even though you stopped
about
drinking. Like, are you just hanging out in this bar every day not drinking? Like,
I guess so.
He's way nicer to you than he should be.
Yeah. So he goes out for drinks with this Corbin Burnson type character. And he really gets to know him. Like, he finally admits, like, I don't have a place to stay. My wife, they weren't married, but girlfriend was cheating on me. And I love how this guy's like, you had no idea. And they have a great laugh over this. It's like, this is not funny. And you should not be laughing at your poor friend or this guy you just met for this. But they really do have a great chuckle about how his wife sort of cheated on him. And then,
well, she had a glow. She had a
was
glow.
glowing.
And
yes.
Sam's like, I've never made a woman glow before.
What was his line? He says, I have 16 years of good humping.
Yeah, okay.
16 years of good humping. All right. That's a cross stitch right there. Yeah. Hang that on your wall.
You got to have that good humping background.
There's some lines in this movie that made me chuckle a little bit. When he's practicing talking to her on the phone and he's like, you might remember me as the guy who almost fucked you on the beach today. I really thought that was pretty funny.
I like that he decides, no, that's not going to work. Right. Oh, you don't think? I mean, it could, but no, probably not your best choice.
No.
But he's going to hook him up with this sweet house sitting deal. Hey. He's like, hey, I just happen to be going out of town and I just happen to be house sitting and you can come and take over. All you really got to do is water. Are you okay with plants? Because they have to be watered after 6.
Mm-hmm. And also, I expected more than, 5 plants? I expected a topiary, just plants as far as the eye can see. He walks in, he's like, you see these 5 ferns here? Yeah, just water them once a day.
That's a pretty cushy deal. That's a pretty cushy deal. Is there actually a friend, or does he own this house? Like, I don't think he owns this house, but like,
I know.
Did he just coincidentally
murder the guy who lives here though? So
That's
that he
what
can get in the
I was
house?
waiting for that reveal for him to open a freezer or something near the end and a body's in there. But
Yeah.
I assumed he owned this property too.
This is not a house a struggling actor doing Seattle repertory theater can afford. Like,
Right.
there's,
Right.
I mean, even if he is married to the super rich lady, it's like, no, you're not affording both of these properties. And if you do, yeah, like you said, you can trace it back easily. So it's just kind of a lot of coincidences. He just needed to happen to hear like this very sad sack fellow actor like looking for a place to stay. You needed to have your friend out of town so that you can house sit in this house that just happens to be directly across from your wife's house.
Right.
It's so many leaps of faith.
And and that's what I wasn't sure what this guy's deal was, because as the cops make very clear, his wife is loaded. So I was like, okay, so is this a struggling actor who
who's living
somehow
off
latched on to a very wealthy woman, but he's still trying to get this acting thing going, and for some reason she's in his way? Like, we get no motivation for this murder or anything that he's thinking or what is going on in his day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really get much, but the important thing about this apartment is that telescope. They've got a telescope in there,
Right.
Oh, right.
showing him the place, and apparently he's got a favorite neighbor who does this elaborate dance masturbation routine in jewels before bed every night.
like clockwork.
As all of us do, I'm sure. You know, we all
And
have.
that's how I get my jewelry all set up. I just put
Absolutely.
on my anklet and I just grind on the bed. And I open the shades to make sure anybody that wants to view it
Exactly.
can.
Yeah, whether they're working on your satellite dish or possibly living in a house across the hill.
Just hire some lady to be in your house going, la, 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 la. Pino Donaggio does the score. That's so good. So good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that the dog doesn't bother her until later.
Yeah.
The dog just stays and does his thing until he's got to kill.
This
and I like
murderous dog that is his constant foil in this movie, I found absolutely hilarious. Like at the end of this, I went, "Oh, the dog's in the back of the Jeep. That's kind of funny."
Yeah.
But also, we sort of already saw this. But all right, let's keep doing this.
No, this dog is definitely his nemesis. Like, I think he senses a similar intelligence in Jake.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I also like how this guy sets him up at the telescope, spies on this woman.
When they're spying on her, they are both just, there's this happy music, and they're so happy, and it's just like, you know what? Who cares if we're struggling actors? We are watching through a telescope a girl do her own little striptease dance. She doesn't even know I'm watching her. She's not even into me. I don't even know who she is. But this is all. What more does a man need?
Jimmy,
and then there's a rotating bed behind you that you
We
can
are
go and...
two grown men aroused together in the same room. We are.
Nothing better, really.
It really is the little things, Jamie. It's just the little things in life that make it worth living. But it is like, and this routine starts with hair brushing. She's wearing a negligee that is see-through, but she leaves it open. Also, it is, as you said, a very elaborate routine.
And it, also noteworthy, we don't see her face during this segment.
No.
That's important.
Yeah.
We don't see her face.
Well,
it's cast in shadow, but we do see
the
her rocking butt.
body double.
So,
she has.
Oh, yeah, we do see her tush. And she likes to rub her tush because you would if you had a tush that cute.
Sure.
Yeah. She wears a I'm sorry, I almost said she wears a wig. She's got dark hair, which is kind of close to the actual woman's dark hair, but it really does look like a crazy wig that she's wearing. So later on that night, after he's alone, he decides, I wonder what happens after this striptease, possibly several hours after. And that's when he witnesses like a domestic dispute in this bedroom.
His commentary to the domestic dispute is pretty great. So some guy with a hat on comes in and she's got a safe where she gets her jewelry out of. Then she puts her jewelry on to do her little dance.
Yeah.
And he comes in and gets into the safe and they have a fight. I think he pushes her and I think he slaps her. And his reactions are like, Jesus, bastard.
That was a moment that I thought was effective. Like we're We're watching the entire movie through the telescope. Like, we're getting the Pino Donaggio kind of like singy score. And then when he pans over to see that somebody's at the safe, the music cuts out. And then we just turn to just diegetic sound of Jake reacting to what he's seeing, which I thought was actually a really effective technique. It's like, okay, the dreamlike reverie is over. There's some serious shit going down.
Yeah.
But the problem with this scene, and I don't know if you guys had the same issue. I watched this movie. I've seen this movie 3 times. I watched it 2 times with friends. And in both instances, my friends, when they saw the guy getting into the safe, they're like, isn't that the guy from before? Because he's got a gigantic head.
Because of that giant head.
He's got a very distinctive head. Wearing a zoot suit
Even
from the
hat.
20s doesn't change that. Apparently he cosplays as Frank Sinatra when he's not like in Seattle.
And it's also a mistake that a lot of movies like this make, which is we have been introduced to 2 characters, unless you count Dennis Franz. But we've been introduced to 2 characters, and now we meet a mysterious villain. And you're like, well, it's not the guy watching through the telescope. So who else could it possibly be?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. Yeah, if we had a bunch of characters that we could potentially lay this on.
Right.
But there's only one that it makes sense for it to be. So, like, you've kind of got that figured out. There comes a point, like, kind of jumping around a little bit, but there comes a point where Jake is starting to formulate his theory on who it is, and we don't need to see his process for that part. Like, there's never a moment where he's like, oh, my God, that might be blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't get that revelation. He just kind of knows because we all know.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next day, he finds out that he has been fired and replaced from the film. So he goes to set and he yells at Dennis Franz. And Dennis Franz's reaction is like, nobody yells at me. Nobody yells at Dennis Franz. What are you doing? And he has him kicked off set.
The PA or whoever his assistant is like, you just don't yell at him. He's the boss. Come on. He's like shuffling Jake out of offset. He's like, what were you thinking? You don't yell at him. It's a done deal. You've been fired. You've been canned.
He's a little bummed out, but thankfully in a few hours he could just watch more sexy hairbrushing and dancing again. So he does.
It's the only way you get that lustrous sheen. Yeah.
Yes. But this time there's some creepo welding a satellite dish next to her house. Does it have anything to do with her house? Or is he just working independently for the county or something? Like, I didn't know if this was her satellite dish or if he's just working, but we see that he's watching this dance also, and his reaction, our hero's reaction of like, you goddamn creep, is kind of funny because I'm like, you're doing the
like,
same
what are you
thing
doing,
here?
dude? Yeah. All right. So the moment they have the close up of, they keep identifying him as an Indian. I don't know where they like came up with that, but like,
because Indians fix satellites all the time.
Absolutely. Oh, that's a common stereotype about Native Americans.
It's horrible. That's so Jamie, I can't believe you said that out loud on a podcast.
But I mean, you know, if you're modestly schooled in movies and in film makeup and in anything like that, you're going to see through this thing immediately.
Yeah.
Jake is the only dumbass in the world who doesn't know that this is somebody wearing like a Freddy Krueger mask.
Yes.
Like, he looks
especially
like
when he sees him in the elevator and they like make eye contact, kind of like, how do you not realize? And I think even so, the patients on the elevator are like, who's
Did
that
you
guy?
see that guy?
That guy?
Like there were close-up shots. Like, I don't know, maybe it was just because I saw Barbara Crampton earlier, but there were close-up shots of him that make it look like the cover to From Beyond, the Stuart Gordon movie that she did. Like, it's just kind of this twisted, like, monster thing from another dimension, and like, that's what you look like. Like, you do not look like a human man. And also, if you're trying to be subtle, don't wear a mesh T-shirt. What are you doing? Standing out in every regard. You are standing out. You are a noteworthy looking man.
Yes.
Seriously, yes, it's true.
And he first sees him through a telescope where his head is filling my television screen. I'm like, well, that's clearly a mask.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see that. This is when he's driving around the next day, and there's some guys
in the farmer's market. Yep.
Some potted plants fell out of their truck.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to put these things on, and all 3 cars are there. It's the Indians, Ford Bronco, and it's this sexy dancing lady who we've seen leaving her place.
She's pulling out of her driveway.
Yes, and he's on the road as well, and he's concerned about her safety, I guess, which is why he decides to tail her. And we get into the slog that is the part of this movie where he walks around behind her at a mall. Doing a terrible job of pretending or wanting her not to notice.
Yeah, when she tells him later, like, I knew you were following me. I'm like, well, yeah, because he was like 2 feet behind her, not even. Like
he was literally having a claustrophobic attack against you in the elevator.
Yeah.
But so far, like, we've had a lot of Rear Window, you know, with the peeping. We've had some notes of strangers on a train with like the fortuitous meeting between two strangers, like making a deal. And now we're getting into the very long, protracted vertigo scene. Like, this is clearly De Palma trying to recreate where Jimmy Stewart is following Kim Novak around San Francisco. You know, and this is a largely dialogueless scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and where that movie is beautiful and it takes you to these wonderful locales in San Francisco, this is kind of really boring. And it's just, you're in a mall. It's not interesting.
It's not even like a fun 80s mall with like neon and arcade machines everywhere. It's like an upper crust like Nordstrom's.
No, it's a fancy Beverly Hills Center. Yeah. This is when he follows her, when he shows just how creepy he is. Mm-hmm. And she goes to the lingerie store and he watches her through the window try on. First of all, I don't know why you have to try on a pair of underwear. You should know your size.
Should not be
well.
doing
If it was
that,
a whole nightie, I could see you want to make sure it, I don't know, shows off your jewels well. But
you don't know who else is
underwear.
trying those on. Yeah.
No, she didn't. There was none of that plastic strip in there. The ladies know what I mean.
Sure.
But yeah, she tries on a pair of silk underwears, and he creepily through the window, and the store's clerk sees him doing it and calls security and is like, "We have a problem. Like, we have a straight-on pervert."
I will tell
watching.
You, I was rooting for security. I was rooting for security, the security guard, to beat him up and take him out of this movie at this point. Because I'm like, all right, dude, like, I get that you're fascinated and you want to know, like, who's this creepy guy? And you feel this sense of, like, a need to protect her for some reason, but now you're just watching her change. You're just being a weirdo.
Boundaries now, buddy. Boundaries. Yeah. Come on. You get to see her do her whole little masturbation dance. You don't got to watch her try on her silk undies. And then when she throws him away, pick him up and just be like, it's just a souvenir.
I have questions about that too.
Why did she throw them away? I thought she was in on this. Like, at that point, I'm like, she's in on this, I guess, now. And she's trying to plant them on her.
Yeah, it seemed like they were playing it like she was going to be a femme fatale type.
Yeah.
So she's played by Deborah Shelton, who was Miss America 1970.
I could see that Miss America glare in her.
Yeah. Popular Playboy model a little bit after that. Never really acted before, but I think she'd been
wasn't she in Dallas?
She was on a couple of episodes of Dallas, and that's not her voice. They dubbed over her voice with Helen Shaver.
God. That is 100% not her voice. When they were talking on the beach, I was like, this sounds like garbage. This looks like crap. I can't believe that this is a movie.
Yeah. De Palma just wanted someone with a huskier voice, and I guess she's got a bit of a Virginia accent, so like whatever a Virginia accent sounds like. But
that would have been so cute. Maybe I'm wrong there.
She's given an incredibly thankless role, so I don't want to pick on her too much. But like, I think it does feel like De Palma's trying to make you feel like she's in on something or manipulating something. She's wearing those big like bug sunglasses for most of her scenes where you don't get to see her eyes. Like, you don't get to see if she's aware that this weird Bill Maher is following her. Like, you don't get any, you don't really get any sense of like her culpability. And then the panty thing is so weird. Like, was she throwing out her old panties, implying that she just like pooped herself or something and then wanted to get rid of the evidence? Or like, are these the ones that she just took out of the store? And she's
was that just a show for him? Was that because she knew he was following her and she was like, well, I'm going to just continue this whole thing and then just throw the panties away and he'll pick them up because he's a pervert.
I do not need my hand held through movies, but I really need, like, later on the beach for her to be like, yeah, I put those in there for you. Or for her to say to the sales lady, like, I'm just going to wear these out. Is that cool? And like you said, those are her old pair that she just throws away.
I like the thought that maybe she soiled her first pair.
We need to close the gap here. Like, by this point, it is very in keeping with Jake's character that he would take those panties out of the garbage and keep them. but it is not really in her character to be like throwing out these new panties or like leaving breadcrumbs for like this weaselly little guy,
Right.
you know, like
Yep.
she's a Miss America. She's a knockout. She's a millionaire. Like, why is she trying to seduce this guy, this like beige corduroy man?
So now I have a question, and Jamie, I guess you and Steve alluded to the fact that there are some Los Angeles monuments in this movie.
Landmarks,
Is
yeah.
Is this like little house that they go to? Is this a thing? Because you seem to be able to just wander onto other people's balconies and stuff just on your way down to the beach, which doesn't make any
Their
sense.
beach, yeah.
Beach terrace motel.
Now, when they go to this beach house or to this, where are they? Who is she?
I think
where is she? Is she supposed to meet someone there? Is that why she's going there?
It's not clear exactly. Like, I just kind of thought like, okay, does she have this? She's just rich, so she just has this other place so she can go be by the beach for a little bit. Like,
Well, but she's talking to somebody on a payphone, and she tells
that's
him
good
like,
too.
all
When she
right,
makes the payphone call, and he's just clearly just listening to her, saying nothing on his end, to listening to her whole conversation about, I just need to talk to somebody. I'll be there, just because I need to talk. And he wraps up his call. Yes, okay, goodbye.
all right,
who
yep,
is she
bye.
talking to? That's never paid off. We don't know
No.
who this is. Like what? That's just a plot thread that's left dangling. Like, we don't know who this was.
No.
Yeah, you want a third person following them at times because they're the person she's been calling, who's like, oh yeah, but yeah, it doesn't, we don't get that.
And again, he's a very close follower. When she's having this phone call, he's on a balcony 2 feet above her eye line. Like, if she just looks barely up, she will see this man like drooling over the balcony watching her. Like,
Yes.
he is not being
But
subtle.
it's for her safety.
They stand next to each other in an elevator. They make eye contact several times when he's following her. He's really bad at it.
Runs across the mall to get in an elevator with her. He was across the other side of the walkway. Terrible at this.
So they get to the beach finally, and this is when he wanders around the beach and then like hides, pretending that he's not watching her. And finally, they have a little bit the shortest amount of dialogue before a crazy Indian runs out of nowhere and grabs her purse and takes off. And then there's the most brief foot chase until they get into a tunnel, and his claustrophobia causes him to lose his mind, panic attack, breathing heavy, sweating profusely. And the assailant like takes something out of her purse and then throws her purse on the ground, and he like collects the contents while panting and not able to concentrate.
Yeah.
There's a good bit
He's
of
trying to keep it together.
There's a good bit of sound editing in this scene when the Indian does like this like kind of woohoo sort of noise, like when he gets what he wants.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it seems like the echo in the tunnel, and I think De Palma mixed some animal noises in there too, because there's kind of like this guttural quality to it that I thought was kind of cool.
So do you think that the man that she's talking to on the payphone is her husband, telling her to meet him at this place because he knows that nearby there's a tunnel so that he can lose this guy due to his claustrophobia? Like, it's so wild to think that all of this has to be planned out somehow.
But I don't think that was her husband she was calling, because that's who was
That doesn't
hitting her.
make
That's who she's
sense,
trying to
right?
get away from. So like, it makes the only way that her character makes sense is if she's somehow in on it, and she's just not. So like, she
Right.
just doesn't make sense.
Or if this is something that she and her husband do, like this is a weird sex game where she goes out and buys panties and he pretends to be somebody else, and they rent a little place at the beach and they pretend to be strangers that meet, and maybe this is just a thing. But again, none of this is explained. Unlike the end of the movie where he's in drag. Why can't
Dressed
I
to
think?
Kill, Michael Caine.
Yeah, Dressed to Kill. Dressed to Kill has the opposite problem, where at the end, a police detective explains that sometimes men like to wear women's clothing. For the last 20 minutes of this movie, we have to listen to this guy talk about this and explain everything we just saw. No one explains anything in this movie, and it's the exact opposite problem.
Exactly. It's way too dense, and like we do get the crucial scene once he's in this tunnel of the woman who we now know her name is Gloria Revelle because he looks at her ID. She comes, she helps him out of the tunnel, and is just overtaken by his political incorrectness and just must have him. And we get that insane green screen, like rotating makeout shot.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a dream sequence.
These two actors are very bad kissers. You can just tell. Sometimes you can just see, like, this actor does not know how to kiss well.
Right.
Neither of them do. They do not know what they're doing. There's some awkward ADR, like, moans and groans from her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's basically, he's getting to second base with this woman he just met on a beach. Like, because, just for
But
no
you're right.
He's taken by her, and she apparently loves a man just coming out of an anxiety attack. It just really does something to her.
Give her my number, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
By all means.
She basically saves him, and I can only imagine what is going through her mind as she's dragging this sweaty, panting man out from a tunnel. And I was like, she's got to be like, who is this loser that he ran out of breath? He ran at least 20 yards maybe,
But
and
she
then
says to
collapsed
him,
in a heap.
Yeah.
But you got the purse, and that's what counts.
Right,
You got
yes.
the purse. Yeah,
Yeah.
not realizing that her card key there is missing, but maybe she's got another set. I don't know.
Exactly, yes. So
but yeah,
they
they're-
make out. It's a weird, like we said, a weird rear projection, rotating makeout scene. As we mentioned, they seem to have little to no chemistry together. And then it's that night he's really getting up the courage to call her again, even though she talked about her husband before they made out.
Yeah. No,
So-
he's working up
Yeah.
the gall to call her, and then he gets a call from Sam, who's like asking for messages and blah blah blah. He's watching Gloria get back into her house with her security guard, and then he sees none other than our big hulking Indian friend with the largest drill you'll ever see in your life.
I like it later on when he's got to plug the drill in because it's not
so
battery
amazing.
No, yeah,
It's so amazing that that's a part of this movie. And also, again, I saw it, I knew it was happening, but they make such a big deal out of this drill. And I'm like, why is he strangling her with the phone cord? Like, why isn't he using that drill? Why did he bring that if he was just
Well,
going to
the
choke
drill
her?
at first is to just get into the safe, which he opened up
He
last
just-
time.
Yeah.
He knew the combination last time, but this time he wanted to be, a little more showy.
Oh,
about
sure.
It, so he brought his big
Yeah.
drill in.
I mean, De
But yeah,
Palma
he-
claims that he didn't see the phallic imagery the first time when he was making this movie. He does concede that he can understand why people made that connection. I don't know if I believe that it was unintentional or not. Like, there's a moment where the drill is literally between his legs, and he uses it to kill her. Like,
Yes.
this is not subtle.
Also,
Yeah,
is this
not at
made before or after both Driller Killer and Slumber Party Massacre?
I want to say it was after both.
It's absolutely wild.
Drill killing. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. So he watches all of this happen, and he doesn't call the police or anything like that. He tries to call her.
Yeah.
She's attacked.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love it when he does. Turn around. It's a little too late, buddy. Yeah, a little too late.
He's got to race to the scene to get there, and in order to pad out what should be a quick death, we have to take forever. Like, he has to make a real big show of slowly advancing on her with this drill while he's gritting his teeth.
Yeah.
He's doing everything but going,
Yeah.
I'll get you. Like, it's very old style, tie you to a train track style villainy. And she's saved by the plug coming out.
But even before that, he strangles her with a phone cord. Doesn't
and we just see
kill
phone cord
her.
and feet and phone
Right.
cord and feet.
Doesn't
bulging
kill
eyes
her.
And,
I don't know if she headbutts him or something.
No,
Somehow,
they collapse on the bed somehow together.
Yeah, they both
right?
fall down, knocked out on this bed. She gets up. Clearly, there's a man who tried to kill her lying on the bed, and she very slowly decides to dial 911 on the phone that she's holding. Like, she doesn't try and get out. It's really funny that she just doesn't Leave the room.
See, if she was selling this fear a little better, this could have been an effective scene, because I was watching, like, there was the close up of the point of the drill kind of slowly coming close to her back. And I'm like, ooh, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. But she's just not selling any kind of danger here.
Right. I mean, there's a way to do this where it is a really interesting scene and not as comedic as it comes across.
Right. And it wasn't helped to, like, when she gets away, she's undone by tripping over the corner of the bed, because apparently she's made of feathers. Like, this knocks her down, and she's like unconscious and going, ooh, my head. Like, she can't get away. She still has plenty of time to get away.
Yes.
But apparently she's the Fabergé woman. And
there really is a funny 80-yard oof when she trips over the corner of the bed. I really found that hilarious. And also, as you mentioned, Steve, this guy is running toward this place, runs into these two other guys who are just out.
Oh,
just
I love that when he
around.
runs into these random joggers, these guys that are just out for a run themselves, and he's like, "Come with me. There's a lady being murdered. You have to
There's
come
a lady
with
being
me."
murdered, and the one guy goes, "Who cares?" I thought that was really great.
But I mean, he jumps the fence. We get our first run in with the dog.
Yep.
Which
This
is just a great
serious
scene.
dog attack. Yeah.
I couldn't tell. To the filmmaker's credit, I couldn't tell which parts were a fake dog. Some parts seemed like a fake dog, but I couldn't tell if that was just the way this particular dog looked. But it looked fake sometimes.
I thought it looked pretty good, actually. I was sort of impressed.
So
I'm always impressed by dog acting. When the dog actually looks like he's killing the guy and ripping his throat out. I think it looked pretty good. But I love how easily bamboozled our hero is, because the murderous Indian just hides behind the open door to the bedroom.
Yep. Oh, not to mention too, while he's fighting the dog, we get I think actually a pretty legitimately great shot of, like, the bloody drill bit coming through the ceiling.
Down through the ceiling.
Like, he's tied up with his dog, and it's not even like center frame. It's almost just like, oh shit, this is also a thing I have to contend with, and it's just like, and you know she's done, and then that's the psycho element right here. Like, the psycho element of midway through, kill what you think is your main character, and then the movie's gonna have to take on a whole different tenor. And boy, does it ever.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought at this point, as we said, the movie kind of ratchets itself up. We weren't sure what we were watching. You know, you could very well say the movie was boring up to this point. Now we just watched an insane murder, and somehow a character enters this. This cop, who's got no time for him or his shenanigans, is super fun. Like, I really enjoyed this cop who's like, I don't like you and you don't like me. Shut up. What are those panties in your pocket, you weirdo pervert?
Yeah.
I feel like he was the audience surrogate at this point. Like, even though we've been along with Jake at this point, it's like but that's not to say we understand what he's doing, but we've seen him doing the things he does, and I'm like, yes, thank you. Somebody's calling him on this shit. I was worried this was just like an 80s boys will be boys kind of thing. Yeah. But no, I
like it. He's like, you're a pervert, you're a sex offender. That's what you are, buddy. Okay? And I don't know that I believe anything you say, because you're a little bit creepy. Okay?
Yeah.
I like it when he pulls the panties out of his pocket and he's like, it's a good thing you have an alibi. You know, those two joggers over there. I'd be running you in right now.
Joggers.
That was lucky. Yeah. But no, Guy Boyd plays the detective. He's really good.
Oh my God. Yeah. He was hilarious and great in this movie. And again, injected life into this movie when I sort of needed it. So now I find this transitioned great, because it's been a very active evening for this guy. So what does your normal pervert do but go back to his rotating bed and watch a channel that seems to only show previews for porn films?
And that's what he's getting into.
Was this a thing? Like, I don't know. Like, I remember our DirecTV packages would show, like, softcore stuff or whatever. You had to pay for it, but like, this is like an openly pornographic talk show, it seems like, on late night basic TV. Like, was that ever a thing?
I don't know, because it seems like a Playboy Playmate video. Like, they're interviewing this woman, but I don't think in those videos the women started taking their clothes off while they're being interviewed. I mean, you would splice in things of them washing cars naked and stuff like that, but it wasn't during the interview process. And then to cut to hardcore pornography and to say, like, oh, pick this up at your local video store. This was wild. And also just the fact that if this didn't happen, I guess he would have gotten away with murder. But also, if you're depending on this guy being a weird pervert, maybe unsubscribe from whatever paid channel this is at this place before you let this guy come in.
Yeah, 100%. And this is important because this is the introduction of Melanie Griffith. Like you said,
Right.
more than an hour into this movie, we get to meet third build Melanie Griffith. And I mean, I think I'm sure you guys have covered a lot of her on this show because I feel like she was pretty important for 80s cinema.
I feel like we did Working Girl, of course, and we did Cherry 2000.
Something Wild could be in there.
And we didn't do Something Wild yet.
Oh, nice.
But,
that's.
But like I said,
I
I found her again very refreshing in this movie. Like, I mean, in Working Girl, she was the main star. And somehow she was overshadowed by Joan Cusack, who was just great. Like anytime Joan Cusack was on screen, and even Harrison Ford was absolutely hilarious in that movie. And they kind of
maybe his best
outshined
performance.
Her. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally agree.
Oh yeah.
But in this, I sort of love the character she's playing, and I love the way she delivers the lines that she's given to say, which is nonsense lines. When she says, "You're a necrophiliac," and she's like, "Do not fuck me because I'm not dead yet," I was just like, those are nonsense words that she's given to say, and she's delivering them in such a great way.
I think this is a fantastic performance from Melanie Griffith. She got a Golden Globe nomination from this movie.
Okay.
Did she?
She did. And I think she's bringing a great deal of intelligence and sympathy to this character that is not on the page. I don't think De Palma wrote this character to be multidimensional. I think she's bringing all of it and kind of trying to fight through the very facile limitations that De Palma is putting on this porn star character.
No, I was wondering, even with the hairstyle choice, like this short, spiky, blonde pixie cut, like you had your other leading, and I know she's got the wig on when she's imitating, but you would think the long, sexy blonde hair, you know, and that's not, she's going for this very, I don't know, different look. And I like when she sets her boundaries, her rules for when she thinks he's a producer and going to put her in a movie.
Oh, man.
And she's got specific rules, like no animals.
That must have been like jarring to see this in 1984 and hearing the words "cum shot" in a major motion picture. Like you're hearing her list off this this list of
she doesn't shave her
things
pussy.
Yeah, she's saying all these dirty words, and I'm just like, even me, I'm just watching this. I'm like, whoa, okay.
You're like blushing,
But like
Melanie.
When first time I saw this, I was not making the connection. Like, you know, he's watching this porno video and seeing her doing this dance. And he connects it that this is the dance that she was doing in the window.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it together. I think maybe it just didn't look similar enough to me. But
the only reason I put it together is the same song played again. Like we did not hear that song, and it kicked right in. They must have played that at least 5 times anytime he went over to the telescope. And when she comes on screen, wiggling her butt all over the place, that same song kicked in. But you're right, because the reaction is such where he is seeing something, he's making some connection, but I totally understand that as a viewer, you'd be like, I don't know what's happening. What's going on right now? Yeah. Why is he flipping out because of Melanie Griffith?
And I mean, I love that De Palma goes to the trouble of showing him go to Tower Records. And interacting with a surly clerk, asking if he has it on VHS or just beta, like going back into the back room, renting his cassette. Like, we get that whole scene. We don't need that scene.
No, you don't need that at all.
I don't know. For some reason, it makes me warm and fuzzy to think, you could go rent movies at a video store like at midnight in LA. Like, that was great. That looks fun.
And I do like how this place is, this adult section at this place. It's not behind a beaded curtain and, you know, wood paneling and no windows. No, there's just windows. There's just, you could look back there. Kids could press their faces up against there anytime they wanted. I just found that hilarious.
He's kind of putting it together that she might be the woman that he saw. Or do you think he knows that, or he thinks she just might be somehow involved?
I think he knows it instantly. Or I think that's what we're supposed to think, is that he knows it immediately. That's why he goes to rent the tape. That's why he watches it. Fast forwards to that point, watches it. I think he totally gets it, and then calls the porn company and just shows up for an audition, which this is commitment to solving a murder.
This part is such like a absolutely wild swing, and I think this is where I'm like, okay, I love this movie. Like, here he is. This is a working actor. He's done a lot of like sitcoms and TV shows and like low budget movies, and he's just very casually making the decision to enter hardcore porno. Just very casually, totally comfortable with it. He does not seem haunted or obsessed or particularly bothered by all this. He's still kind of a nice, amiable Midwestern dude who's just showing up for an audition.
This is where in any other quote unquote normal film, when that producer asked him to take off his clothes, there'd be this funny little back and forth and him stammering. Nope. It's just like, well, here goes the belt. And we cut to a music video / porn. It is amazing. And that is, again, it took so long to get here. But when this started, I was like, I am buckling up for what the rest of this movie is, because I hope it's just this music video on loop for the last half hour.
I would have respected it so much if it just turned into a Gonzo Phantom of the Paradise musical for the rest of the movie. I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be satisfied with this as a music video or as a porno. Like, there's what is this movie? Who are they making it for? And it just immediately, and just the use of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That is kind of a song I think of as synonymous when you are parodying the 80s, when you want to get a scene that is set in the 80s, like in a comedy, you use that song. And this is the first time it's being used. That song broke out from this movie. So, like, it's just kind of crazy to see, like, the origins of this, you know?
It makes no sense. And I think I love, because also, like, when are they shooting this? Like, later that day? The production values of this are off the charts, and they just brought this guy in for an audition. I love how it's
from the audition to the glasses and the vest. I'm like, oh, and now he's in it. He got the part.
Seemingly no time has passed. I found it so wonderful.
Even when he was reading sides with the producers, like, he has 2 lines. He goes like, I like to watch. It makes me hot. The end. That's his whole audition. Yeah. Like, and he nailed it off of that, apparently. Like, the producer was reading more lines than he was. So I don't know. I mean, they cut away from any male nudity, you know, because this is not something that De Palma is interested in. But when the sex scene with Melanie Griffith's character, Holly Body, finally happens, we get the rear projection again. We get the spinning thing. And I'm like, okay, wait, are we supposed to believe that, like, are we trying to imply that this is reminding him of Gloria, or that this is the same person as Gloria, or like what? Or is this just how he gets when he kisses women? Like,
well, this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, this literally switches between her and Gloria.
And Gloria, we see them both. Yeah.
It is so on the nose. Like, do you understand, audience? Do you get it? They're the same person. This guy's also really weird that he would even do this. Like, it's so great. I love how there's just a door that says sluts on it. Like, everything about this is wonderful.
There's a curtain. There's a door. There's
sluts and studs
are this
room.
way. Clearly labeled sluts. I like that Melanie Griffith has a mistletoe tattoo on her left butt cheek. That's pretty sexy, I guess. And her assless leather pants.
And you said he looks like Bill Maher, and I'm not going to disagree. But in this music video, I thought he looked just like Andy Dick for some reason.
Oh my
they were
God!
Able to make him look like Andy Dick.
Because they and everything. Yeah, I could see it.
They give him a very like sitcom dad sweater and these dorky glasses. Yes. And I love watching him try to dance as he's walking through this club. He's just like
so
great. Very light shoulder bopping, and that's how he dances.
Yeah.
And then just like transitions to having sex with Holly in a bathroom, a scene that is kind of just blown over. It's like, okay, he just did this scene. And then we've got that amazing line of like the production assistant coming up and saying, "Where's the cum shot? We're making porno, not Last Tango." Right. And fun fact, that production assistant, Rob Paulson, voice actor and the voice of Yakko Warner on Animaniacs.
Oh my God!
Really?
Okay.
And I think Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles. He's a bunch of different voices. So I don't know.
Who knew? And he had a cum shot line.
But it appears that everybody, the director, producer, they love it. Like they're just like, no, this is great.
Chemistry between these two. Yeah, they're digging it.
Again with the Boogie Nights parallels, but like they're reacting to it the way everyone reacts to watching Dirk Diggler's first scene. They're just like in awe of this, in awe of this young man's talent. It's just like, okay, I've seen no evidence of this to date, but
so
whatever.
This is where he decides to take on a new personality as a porn. I don't know, what is he? A producer? He says he is.
He's a producer. Yeah.
And this is when he's all over Melanie Griffith, and he's like, "I want you in my movies." Blah blah blah. Like we said earlier, she gives him her list of demands.
Yeah. No animals, no fist fucking, no shaved pussy, and I get $2,000 a day.
Jamie, you missed it. No water sports either.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
That was great. So
like wakeboarding.
She knows her routine is hot too. She says, "Yeah, I've got my routine. It's a 10 on the Peter meter."
On the Peter meter. Oh my God, that's my favorite line of the whole movie because it's unbelievably stupid. So good, and the fact that she manages to get that line out, but like, I this is where you kind of see her performance kind of coming through. There's a moment where he says he's really impressed with her acting. And I just love her face when she's watching that. Like, she's so not used to hearing compliments about her talent. It's always about
her talent and her
smile.
And like nobody.
Yeah. He says you have a beautiful. She's like body. Smile. Yeah, and you're right. Her reactions are you could see. You could see her acting. You could not see her acting, but you could see the depth in the character of like she was feeling.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's great. Where has this fun character been through this entire movie? But maybe it's all going to pay off here in the end because he gets her back to his place, and it doesn't take too long before he totally fesses up, and it's just like, "Oh, I'm not a producer. I just want you here because I think I saw you dancing in that place. You look out the window there, that place right there. Yeah. Was that you? That was you, right? Who hired you? Who hired you? Who hired you?" And this guy calls, and I just love how he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna just have him talk, and you listen to the voice." And
I love how agreeable she is too. She's
yes,
okay, fine.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Because before that, she's like, "You're a liar," and I knew this was all too good to be true. I'm getting out of here. And he's like, "There was a woman murdered. Do you not see what I'm getting at here?" And she's like, "Yeah, all right, murder schmurder. But okay, fine. I'll listen to your friend on the phone." Yes, that is his voice. That is the guy that hired me. She's like, "I don't know. He just told me he hired me, and I just did it."
Even when she gets swept up into the action, she is deeply uninterested in anything that is going on with this guy and his quest. Like, she does not care. Even when she's like emerging from a grave.
Right. And how much time has passed? How long is he house sitting? Like, what? How long has all of this taken in this movie at this point?
And so, like,
I don't know. Is it a couple of nights? Is it?
She goes out like just wandering Mulholland Drive, like trying to flag someone down to give her a ride home. And he's on the phone with the police detective. And this is where he lays out his theory that it's Sam Bouchard. Like, we don't see him processing this at any point. Like, he just knows, like, when Sam calls, it's like, oh, okay, it's gonna probably this guy. Can you tell? He's the only other guy in the movie. Can you listen to his voice? Like,
well, and we do see his process, which is just us watching scenes from earlier in the movie of him meeting him at these auditions.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to sit through all that stuff again.
Yeah, and also someone, either De Palma or Greg Henry or the cinematographer, someone is really impressed with Greg Henry's butt, because in every shot he's like got his back to us and he's like leaning over and like sticking his butt out. Like, they really wanted to see that man's tushy. So, hey.
So there's a lot that's happening here because, like you said, she's trying to flag down cars. We see people racing, which I hope that David Lynch was just doing this for the beginning of Mulholland Drive, like just from this movie with those people drag racing or whatever, and then they were in that accident. Like, I just love it. There's a huge car crash. She's trying to flag someone else down because she's like, I don't know, these people crashed. And of course it's the evil Indian that picks her up in his Bronco. Right.
Sure.
He sees all this and takes off. So this is where I think this bad guy's plan has really just gone out the window and he doesn't know what else to do because they're at a traffic stop surrounded by cops and he's beating her with a tire iron.
Yeah, and they're like, Jake come down and they're arresting Jake.
Yeah, because Jake's going, well, Jake comes off a little bit crazy, let's be honest.
Yes.
And he's always screaming about someone being murdered, but at the same time watching women do strip teases. So the officers are like, just calm down. He's like, but there's a woman in that car. There was an accident that happened. And he's like, but you're not looking. There's a woman in that car being murdered right now. And it's like, all right, yeah, I'm sure there is. Although, to his credit, he did witness another murder. A woman being drilled. Like, everywhere he goes, this guy can just sense a woman being killed.
And in defense of the cops, Jake is very arrestable. Just everything about his whole deal is like, I want to put this guy in custody.
Very shifty guy.
Yeah.
Very shifty guy. I agree.
But also there's a car that is in line, but then making 3-point turn after 3-point turn, slamming on gas brakes to speed away, and the cops don't seem to have any issue with this whatsoever.
No, and that's the car the murder supposedly taken place in. But
Jake manages to get away on foot, hops a fence to a reservoir.
Yeah.
That seems to be conveniently located right next to the house.
All of this is within a half a mile from each other.
All within walking distance. Yeah. Or running if you're.
This is when we also find out that this guy's plan is terrible because his plan is not to murder this woman that he hired to do a striptease and then dispose of her body. His plan is to bury her alive.
Yeah.
This is horrible. And also, did he have that grave pre-dug? Because
it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. He had to do some hardcore. Maybe that giant drill.
Oh, yeah, he just used a drill.
You think that would be quicker than using a shovel?
At least it'll break up the soil.
But where would he plug it in, though? That's the problem.
He's got to plug it into the cigarette lighter with an extension cord.
Ridiculous. Oh, my God.
It's awesome. And he just watches this all happen. This guy sit there and dig this grave next to a reservoir. As we mentioned earlier, he has another run-in with the dog.
Yes.
And then he falls, or he doesn't fall in. He is pulled into the grave by a mad Indian. But in the struggle, he rips off a mask, which everyone knew about except for this idiot. And it is then, of course, revealed to be, what's the guy's name? I didn't write it down.
Sam Bouchard, yeah.
Sam Bouchard. I love how he's just laying on the ground next to Melanie Griffith, who's just taking a nap, just totally snoozing in and out.
She just took a little.
Yeah, she's pretty fine.
She just got knocked a little unconscious.
Yeah.
And then
no blood, though. Yeah.
All you have to do to this guy is just push him down slightly, and he is out of commission. Like, he is done.
100%, because it's his crippling claustrophobia comes back. And then for just a hot minute, we are treated to, was this all just a dream? Is he still on set at this place? I found that infuriating, very funny, like all at the same time, because I was like, well, there's no way that this is what's happening here, but I'm into it. Like, just do it. Just do it. Just let us think that this was all just a dream for a minute, maybe.
And again, this is a nutso thing to go back to, because this seems to be implying that this film shoot is kind of the source of his trauma. Like, this is the beginning of his claustrophobia. Like, this is what caused it. This is the demon that he needs to slay in order to, like, overcome his fears and save the day. Like, really? Like, this shitty movie where he had a panic attack is, like, his big, like, his rosebud, Like, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. It kind of slows the movie down. But, like, luckily, this is not a dream. Like, it's just him having a pep talk. But yeah.
But what cures him of this is the figment of his imagination, Dennis Franz, saying, you better get this fucking shot, kid. And suddenly he is cured. He's fine. And then he's able to get up and have a last fight with this dude. And
apparently, like, fantasy Franz and real life Franz were in communication somehow, because he puts him back in the fucking movie. It's like, well, you did a great job in that hallucination you were having, so I thought I should put you back in,
Right,
yeah.
I need a quick cut of Dennis Franz waking up in cold sweats, being like, that was a weird dream. I better get that guy on the phone.
Call Babe.
Yep. So he is killed by his own dog, which seems like a really weird thing to...
After the dog jumps through a car window. That dog is made of titanium.
Yeah. It's a wolf dog. It's definitely a wolf dog, yeah.
It busts through the car window. It starts running, and he goes, kill, kill, and all our hero has to do is duck slightly, and both the dog and this murderer are dispatched together by falling into this reservoir and being washed away.
And then Holly wakes up and kind of gives him the 3rd degree for being a pervert. And
for being a necrophiliac.
Yeah.
And then fade to black, and then it's one final totally different movie for the last couple of seconds of the film.
Totally different. What are you talking about? He's dressed the same.
Well, now it's back to like well, no, I mean in terms of body double, it's like now it's just a behind the scenes look at how movies are made. Plus boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever
and lots of
wondered
boobs.
what body
Bloody
doubles
boobs.
do in movies? Let's just hang out through the credits and we'll teach you a thing or two.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
my God.
I actually appreciate that part. Like I like watching the process of it, even like in a fakey way. Like, he's in the shower with the girl and they have to hold up a bar to like match eye lines, and then they have to swap in the other girl who's nude, and she's got notes about like not being too rough because she's on her period, which I thought was a nice like. I think De Palma meant that as a sleazy detail, but I liked it as a real thing. That like. That's something you would probably communicate to a professional actor you're working with. Yeah, like, but yeah, and then we get like,
just like you, I enjoyed the end of this movie. Like, I enjoyed those closing credits. I was like, this is really interesting, and I don't watch credits. I'm not the person that sits in a movie after it's over and they sit through the credits. I'm not even a person that watches a Marvel movie and is like, well, I'm sure there's a stinger scene. I don't care. I'll just whatever. Watch it online if I really care that much. But this had me watching the credits, and I was like, movies don't do this to me, and this one totally did. I'm not going to say it was too little too late, but Jamie, maybe we should give our final thoughts here. And Steve, I guess I'll start with you, because I can only assume, since you watched this 3 times and you brought it for us to watch, this is your favorite movie ever made?
Oh, easily favorite movie ever made. Definitely the best film of all time. No, I mean, it is such a fascinating curiosity to me. I like that it is this kind of failed synthesis of kind of these like grindhouse sensibilities with a Hollywood budget. Like I like I think there's kind of an abandon going on here. I think De Palma is like, okay, I mean, he's given interviews. It's not just me speculating. He's given interviews saying that like he wanted to make the most Brian De Palma movie ever. He wanted to make the movie that everyone thought he was making all this time. And I think that gave him a lot of creative freedom to be just as weird as humanly possible. He indulges all of his worst excesses in ways that often are unpleasant to view, but it's also undeniably like a watchable movie. Like it's hard to even label it just like a straight up good bad movie. It's like this is like a trash film with some excellent craft behind it, and that makes it really interesting to me.
Well, and with that perspective of what you're saying, that he decided that this was just going to be kind of balls out De Palma, like that gives me a different, refreshing point of view. I mean, I had never seen this before. Sure. I was going into it thinking it was literally about I thought it was about stunt doubles. I didn't know. Or then I thought it was about porn doubles. I didn't know. And then what we got, this crazy murder plot, I was like, this is goofy as all get up. But with that perspective, I'm like, okay, like you said, you kind of, whether you hate it or love it, you've got to respect the statement he was trying to make there.
The audacity, yeah.
And I mean, again, when he's at his peak like that and he's able to do something like that, like kudos to you, and that's awesome. But did I enjoy it? No. What I did enjoy is, again, I didn't think I liked Melanie Griffith, and the few movies we've done of hers, and this included, I've enjoyed her. She's come out refreshing to me. Cherry 2000, I really liked her in that.
She has like she's maybe not the most traditional like strongest actress in the world, but she definitely has that quality. She has that star quality that makes her incredibly charismatic.
And it may be that she's in these movies, well, except for Working Girl, she's all of a sudden she comes at you and like, what is this movie? Oh, I didn't know this movie is she's exactly what I needed in this movie to help make it through. You know, she kind of, her presence kind of eases me subtly, softly, lulls me into, okay, I can finish the rest of this movie. 40 minutes left. Melanie's with me. Hold my hand, girl. Come on. Let me see your tush. Let's do this.
I was reading that De Palma was trying to get a real pornographic actress to play this part. And then he went with Melanie Griffith in the end. But I also don't think she's an accidental casting because
better choice.
Famously she's the daughter of Tippi Hedren, who is one of Hitchcock's blondes, you know, like one of the famous, the star of The Birds. Like, so I don't think it's an accident that she's cast in this, but she is great. And to be clear, like, this movie is fun. De Palma is not my cup of tea generally. I think his interests are generally pretty misogynist and creepy, and this movie is really no exception. But viewed kind of in that bubble and viewed in context of the rest of his career, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think, Jamie, I think I agree pretty much with what you said. Also, what I love about what you said is you thought maybe this movie was about stunt doubles, and I can only assume that when you saw that woman working at the lingerie store, you were like, clearly this is Isabella Rossellini's stunt double, so I guess all this tracks. No, I enjoy. Here's what I'll say, and this is a stupid cop out. I enjoyed the parts I enjoyed, but so much of it was really boring and so tough to get to that point. And I think I'm just burned out on De Palma, and I always do feel like he's just a Hitchcock wannabe, and I know that that's unfair. I know he does other stuff, but you know, I really enjoyed Sisters, except for maybe like the last 20 minutes of Sisters is kind of bad. And the movie
I like original Mission Impossible a lot. Like I think
Sure.
when he's a director who needs to be, I think he is somebody who kind of flourishes in the studio system because they curb a lot of his worst impulses. You know, like The Untouchables is the same way. Like he doesn't have a lot of his De Palma-y tendencies in that, and it's not going for a Hitchcock thing. And Mission Impossible isn't either. Like I think he needs some suits to be watching him and be like, nope, put your pants on. No.
Right. And I think that's the thing. I mean, it's really easy for me to say I don't like De Palma, but then like you said, somebody will say, well, wait, don't you like The Untouchables? I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not a De Palma movie. He just happens to be making it. Like, you know, like that's my problem is the De Palma movies.
Sure.
Jamie, I'll just start with you. Go for it.
I know.
I'll put you on the spot.
Okay, not a problem. So, as typical, I have more than one because one is a movie I haven't seen, but it's on my list to see.
Great.
And one is a movie I did see. So this
it's called Body Double 2. You're like, they should really make this.
Yes.
And see what happens.
No, I think actually, I feel like our last guest or a guest couple, Laura might have recommended the Promising Young Woman, that new movie out that I haven't seen it yet, but I want to, and it seems like not that it's in this vein, but it's sexually charged and but dark comedy, and I haven't seen it though. So other than a recommendation to myself saying watch this movie instead of Body Double, then there you go. And then the movie that I did see, and I guess the similarities are that there's some nudity in it, and there's some cops that treat our main character unfairly, but it's an excellent movie, actually. It's The People versus Billie Holiday. I don't know if you've seen it. Andra Day, that singer, she does such a fabulous job playing Billie Holiday, and it's the story of Billie Holiday versus the government and all of the terrible things and strange fruit in that song. And the movie is just really well done. Andra Day plays a phenomenal role as even her voice is like Billie Holiday. I love Billie Holiday. And if you want some nudity, it's there. If you want some raunchy sex scenes, it's in there because Billie Holiday was, you know, she was a sensual lady.
Yeah.
So that's the recommendation I have seen, and the recommendation I haven't seen, more of a self-recommendation. Jamie, see this movie, is Promising Young Women.
I am gonna second Jamie see Promising Young Woman. It's really good.
I will third that. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
And also,
so it's on my list,
I don't
guys.
expect, or I would not expect, explicit sex scenes from a Billie Holiday biopic. So that is shocking to me.
Well, it's also it's a Lee Daniels movie too. So like he did The Paperboy and Precious and movies like that. So yeah, we'll give you an idea.
Yeah, I didn't see Precious.
really
I
well
saw The
done.
Paperboy. Nope, no, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
That is not for me. I don't know who that's for, but someone that's not me. My recommendation isn't all that interesting. I said I don't like. I like maybe 2 De Palma films, and I'm realizing that I do like more than 2. But my favorite one of his is, and it's from '81. Jamie, we can do it. I love Blowout. I think Blowout is a fantastic movie. It's
I've still
John
not
Travolta.
seen that one.
What was that?
I've still not seen that one. I have to check it out.
Oh, it's really
I
great.
hear it's great,
Yeah,
I
John
haven't
Travolta's.
seen it either. I'm assuming it's about people that get their
Yep.
straight curly hair straightened.
That is exact. Yeah,
Yeah.
John Travolta plays a hairstylist. No, he plays a movie sound engineer, and he's capturing like nature sounds at night. Like he wants to get sounds of owls and
Oh.
stuff. And with his wonderful sound equipment, he overhears audio of an assassination. And of course, then, people are after him. It's got Nancy Allen in it. It's really, really great. It ends with him like this low shot, and you may have seen it in GIFs because it's, anytime 4th of July is here. It's the bicentennial, and it's a low shot of him holding someone who's dying while fireworks are just all around him behind him. It's a wonderful final shot of a film.
Wow.
And it's probably De Palma's favorite movie or it's my favorite movie of his. So, Steve, anything you want to recommend to people?
Yeah, I can actually pull one that's somewhat tangentially related to elements
Sure.
of this movie. I recently rewatched a movie I haven't seen in probably like 20 years that showed up on HBO Max. It was The People versus Larry Flint with Woody Harrelson playing famous hustler, creator, pornographer Larry Flint. I'm not a big fan of biopics, but this one is written by Larry Alexander and Scott Krasuski. I think those are their names. They're the same guys who did Ed Wood and most recently My Name is Dolomite. I really like their approach because they tend to do pretty straightforward biopics, but it's not of like revered figures. It's people on the fringe. It's people, lovable losers or people who had a weird impact kind of despite themselves. And I think this movie works in that regard as well. And the performances are all excellent. Woody Harrelson rules in that movie. Courtney Love is so good. Edward Norton's really good in that movie, and it's funny and it's vivid, and I believe it's a Milos Forman joint, which is he's great at what he does. If you haven't dusted that one off, check it out. It's from 1996. Definitely worth revisiting if you haven't seen it.
Awesome. Well, again, Steve, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on Ultra 64 or what the show is for people that aren't aware?
Absolutely, yeah. So I host Ultra 64 with my friend Woody Siskowski. The first season, we were playing through every single game in the Nintendo 64 catalog that was released in North America. We wrapped that up, and we have now moved on to the Wii U. I own every Wii U game as well. It's an unloved system that people kind of slept on, and we're playing through all of those right now. I think we're about 20 episodes deep on the Wii U series, and a good ways to go. But we're having a lot of fun doing that. We're calling the new show Wii Universe, but you could still find us under Ultra 64 and all the social media and everything like that. We also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Ultra64pod. And on the Patreon, we're doing kind of a different approach. We're playing through every game in a given series that our audience votes on. So right now we're playing every Tony Hawk game. And we've got a few episodes left of that series. So you can check that out for $5 a month.
Yeah. And I know I've said this to you, Steve. I am not a video game person. I have played video games. They're things that I understand exist.
Sure.
I really enjoy your show. Like, I don't...
Thank you.
90% of the games you guys are talking about, I have no idea. I've never played it. I have no interest. But you guys have great chemistry, and I just listen because I enjoy listening to you two. So I would really suggest, even if people don't... Maybe you're not into games. I enjoy your podcast. I enjoy the two of you talking. So,
well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I have to say, I don't listen to podcasts, but just having you on our podcast, you're very interesting to listen to and very thoughtful and very. So I think I would listen to you talk about games or mostly anything. I mean, I watched this movie for you.
I'm
so-
hiding my face behind my mic because I'm very flattered right now. So thank you. I appreciate it. That's very kind. Thank you so much.
I do always find that funny, Jamie, that you don't listen to podcasts. Like the amount of times that people have reached out to us, meaning just me, and they're like, "Would Jamie come on?" I'm like, "Nope." And she's not gonna listen to your show. Sorry. Like, I don't want to be mean, but I'm like, no. I'm always like, I'll gladly come on. I don't care. I'll do anything. I'll talk about anything you want. I'll be there. Jamie, nope. Sorry, we're not a package deal. I'm lucky you watch the movies and want to talk to me for 2 hours every other week. So, all right. But thanks again, Steve. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
And
thank you.
everybody.
Yes.